Support for Destination Michigan is provided by the CMU Bookstore. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, maroon and gold memories, and an official outfitter of Adidas apparel at the Central Michigan University-owned and operated CMU Bookstore. Online shopping 7 days a week at cmubookstore.com. The CMU Bookstore, online at cmubookstore.com, on campus in the University Center, and game day locations at Kelly Short Stadium and the CMU Events Center.
Hi and welcome to Destination Michigan, where we explore the beauty, creativity, and destinations in our Great Lakes state. Tonight we're going to meet some outstanding Michiganders, and we'll travel across the Mitten to visit the communities that make Michigan unique. Here's a glimpse of tonight's travels on Destination Michigan. Tonight we visit the village at Grand Traverse Commons, where the diversity and culture of this campus truly represents and inspires a sense of community.
Next, I'll show you why no visit to Gaylord is complete without a stop to the Alpine Chocolate House.
Plus, we'll meet a Northern Michigan artist whose clay creations represent the spirit of the area.
Then we head to Beatles and Beans Coffee Emporium, where they have the biggest collection of Beatles memorabilia I've ever seen.
And I'm outside of Midland with one of my favorite people and an outstanding Michigander.
Tonight our journey takes off in Traverse City, where one of the largest historic preservation projects in the country is currently underway. We met with the redevelopers of this unique renovation of dozens of historic buildings at the village of Grand Traverse Commons.
It isn't just the beautiful buildings and the beautiful grounds, you know, it's that sense of community that we're creating.
When you step on the campus of the village of Grand Traverse Commons, the sense of community is overwhelming in a really great way. The 63-acre property is a true neighborhood, with people living, working, and playing on the grounds.
It all started with a huge inventory of old buildings that were falling apart, and that was the daunting task, to find people with enough vision who saw our ideas for reusing this place, who were able to see beyond the deterioration.
The deterioration Raymond Minervini is speaking about was that of the original buildings built in the 19th century as a place to care for the mentally ill.
At first it was the Northern Michigan Asylum and then the Traverse City State Hospital, and closed in 1989 and languished while the community tried to figure out, and the state tried to figure out, how the property should be used. Should all the buildings be torn down? Should it be redeveloped in some way and preserved? It was a very long community discussion, and in the meantime the buildings slowly started falling apart because nobody was caring for them.
And that's when Raymond's father, Ray Minervini, got involved to save the quarter-mile-long main building on campus, Building 50.
So when I heard about the fact that they were considering demolishing this building, I got active with the Preserve Building 50 group. And one thing led to another, and I was appointed to the Grand Traverse Commons Redevelopment Corporation with the intent of trying to come up with a plan for the disposition of the building.
And the plan was created to preserve one part at a time.
It's a daunting task, rehabilitating 1 million square feet of historic building, especially in the condition that they were in. It's like telling your kids to go clean their room, you know? They walk in the room and they sit on the bed and say, you know, it's just too much, it's overwhelming, you know? You start by just picking up one piece at a time, you know? And that's what our philosophy was, and that's the way that we did it, and it worked. You know, we started at the south end where Stella the restaurant's at, and then completed that section of the building, and then moved on to the north. And now all of Building 50 is complete, a major accomplishment we're really proud of.
In Building 50, or the Mercado building, there are residential condominiums and professional offices on the upper levels, where the Minervini Group broke down the walls between the old state hospital patient rooms to expand the space. They blocked off the doorways and preserved the existence of the rooms that were once here.
So what we had to do is not run away from what this place was. We had to embrace it, you know, we had to own it. But what we would always tell people is that there may have been stories here that are not pleasant, but there are stories from Central neighborhood or from Slabtown neighborhood that are not pleasant either. And that's just the human condition. And that the noble intent of this place was to take care of our fellow human beings. And that's the part We try to celebrate, the grand buildings were built at great expense by the state, a huge expense. But it was because people needed care, and the state felt it was justified to step in. So what they did at the time was actually very ambitious. They didn't have all the answers, and I'm sure mistakes were made along the way, but the outcome was of a good intent, and that's the part we tried to celebrate to people. It's like, how is that a bad thing that a building was built to provide the best level of care for the day to other neighbors and citizens? And what's bad about living or working in a place that started off like that?
Now the lower level of the Mercado building is filled with retail shops. At one point, the space was used for maintenance and storage purposes. It's an area you can visit daily as a shopper or a diner, as there are many stops for foodies to enjoy too. As you can see, the walls are adorned with art, and creativity emits from every doorfront. The Minervini's kid that in the main building and the others surrounding it. You will find the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, or basically everything you need in a small, diverse community.
What we try to do is celebrate these elements of community and conviviality, about people coming together, those chance interactions, the indoor farmers market in the winter, or events on the front lawn, or a game of bocce. Those elements of the neighborhood allow us to celebrate what this place is, but never run away from what it was.
The Village of Grand Traverse Commons encourages the public to learn more about the history of the campus by attending one of their historic guided tours. A couple highlights of these tours include taking a walk through an amazing brick steam tunnel built in 1883 and exploring a historic building that has yet to be renovated.
We've completed about 55% of the whole project at this point. So in spite of the fact that we're really proud about what we've accomplished thus far, we still look ahead of all the things that are yet to do. And it's kind of humbling.
We're subject to a historic easement for the building, so we can't make changes recklessly. We can't tear down buildings without showing a proper cause or justification to do that, and we don't want to. What makes this a special place is that you have a beautiful campus and these amazing buildings, and so we try to preserve them and reuse them. We create a really cool neighborhood, bring the right people that are attracted to this kind of place, and that's what gives it a life beyond what we would be able to do on our own.
A list of residential spaces, retailers, restaurants, events, and tours are on the Village of Grand Traverse Commons website. Well, now we travel to another northern Michigan community where among the Alpine shops and stores right in the middle of town, there's a place in Gaylord that's become a must-stop for any chocolate addict. Destination Michigan's Stephanie Mills got a taste of what brings people to the Alpine Chocolate House time and time again.
Today we're visiting the Alpine Chocolate House in Gaylord to find out how they make their famous chocolate-covered potato chips and so much more.
It's all made right here on the premise. We've been here for 30 years. This is stuff that's made right here in the store, and I think that's what people appreciate that. This is not something you're going to find very many places.
Got a sweet tooth? The Alpine Chocolate House can fill it. They've been a chocolate lover's paradise in Gaylord since 1985.
And I always liked Gaylord. I just thought Gaylord was a neat community, and I've always wanted to own my own store. Well, when we came down here, there was a candy store just down the street a little ways, a chocolate shop, and it was up for sale. So I looked into it, ended up obviously buying it. Give it a shot of chocolate.
Okay. Owner Bruce Brown, also known as Der Chocolate Meister, is a man with an infectious laugh and a super sweet personality.
Now you're going to give it 2 shots of chocolate.
Oh, that's a lot of chocolate. Opening his own business was a dream come true. But while the Alpine Chocolate House has become a destination for homemade chocolate treats and candies, it didn't quite start out that way.
When we first started, people would come up from downstate and ask if we had, we make our own chocolate. And we said we never did. They would say, so let me get this right. I drive from Detroit to come to Gaylord to buy chocolate from Detroit. So we could see that basically the writing on the wall. And then it was in March or April of '86 that I met a lady, and she took me under her wing, she taught me stuff, and she showed me how to make chocolates. And that's actually when we started.
Today, they make about 150 different items, plus many bag treats. I got in on the action in the kitchen above the flagship store. What do you think, Bruce? Do you think I have a career here in making chocolate-covered potato chips?
You could do it. You're doing a good job. This is our #1 seller.
From making their famous chocolate-covered potato chips, scooping peanut butter, to dipping these ginormous apples into bubbling hot caramel sauce, there is a whole lot of sweetness up here when you enter the stairway to heaven.
But we always try to come up with new ideas. We have done stuff like chocolate-covered bacon. We'll do chocolate-covered grapes. We did chocolate-covered jalapenos, and that was really, really good. We come up with sometimes some really cool items that we make, and some stuff never sees the sales floor. So it's a fun business.
I'm the manager, so I get here at 7:30 in the morning. I get the machines up and running for all the ladies. We start about 8 o'clock, all the other ladies show up. We run chips, we run caramel corn, drizzled corn, apples. There's like at least 8 different kinds of apples that we do.
As the Alpine Chocolate House's popularity rose, Bruce began branching out. Today is a shop in his former hometown, Sault Ste. Marie, one in Boyne City, and his newest in Plymouth. All are located within the downtown areas, something Bruce prides himself in.
It's been 30 years, and I can't wait to get up in the morning and go to work. I just love coming here. I have a great staff. I have some great people that are really devoted to the business, and that just means a lot right there.
30 years in the chocolate biz. Not bad for a guy who didn't even know how to cook before owning his own store.
You know, the best part about owning a chocolate shop are the people coming in and purchasing the candies that you make, and they say how much they really like them, how they love them, and they keep coming back to buy.
You can find more information on the Alpine Chocolate House by checking out their website. Next, we visit with a Michigander who has artistic genes and a love for nature. Let's visit Leif Sporck's Suttons Bay workshop to catch all that goes into his ceramic creations.
I grew up with a pottery. I grew up with my hands in clay.
Have you ever noticed how some things you're exposed to at a young age tend to re-emerge in your world later in life?
I mean, there's pictures of me standing around my dad's pots when I was just learning to walk.
Well, that's exactly what happened to artist Leif Sporck of Suttons Bay.
My dad's pottery was extremely important to me. It was almost scary, the fact that maybe someday my dad's pottery wouldn't exist. It was something that I didn't want to have happen, and that was always eating at me in the back of my mind. So I'm not sure if somehow the forces of that thought kind of helped push me towards the clay, but eventually I found myself back here.
Even though Leif started getting creative with ceramics before he even turned 5 years old, it was in 2001 that he started making his claim to fame, ceramic tile art.
They're very interesting pieces of artwork because I hand paint them all, because they're designs that you won't find anywhere else. They're affordable little pieces of artwork, and you know it's not something that it's mass-produced by some machine.
Now these tiles of his are truly one of a kind. His collection consists of nature and Norwegian inspirations, mixed in with the beauty from the area he calls home, Northwest Lower Michigan.
I wanted to make things that people wanted. I wasn't gonna just come up with like random things. I knew people enjoyed nature, and I knew they enjoyed Leelanau County, and I started with that. And then eventually I had 20, 30, 50, and then 100 tiles.
Leif says he probably has close to 500 ceramic tile designs now. Each design was originally hand-carved, then made into a mold for duplication, using clay that he processes himself. Leif even mixes the majority of his own glazes, using scientific recipes to get the color just right. Both of these techniques are quite unique for an artist, and that makes Leif's tiles stand out.
What really makes them special is how they're made, how I make them here, handmade, something you won't find anywhere else. It becomes a special thing to a lot of people, so people find all different ways to display them.
And you'll find them as magnets, light switch covers, and address identifiers, on kitchen backsplashes, foyers, and fireplaces. Really any location that lends to an artistic and natural touch.
Well, the tiles all have holes in the backs of them, so they can hang them on nails. So I get lots of photographs from customers, and they're showing me where they put them. Some of the more popular places are like above door frames, entrances from one room to the next where there might be a space between the top of the wall, of the entrance way to the ceiling. That's one spot where people like putting them. Anywhere where a tile will fit, it becomes a possibility for one of these tiles.
Sporck Tileart pieces can be found in art fairs across our state. And his original gallery can be visited on the stretch of road between Suttons Bay and Leland, off M204. But the primary gallery, where you'll find most of his work, is in Leland's historic Fishtown.
When I've gone through a whole year and it's been a successful year, that's a really rewarding time. To know that I made it through another year and I made a lot of tiles and I kept going, didn't stop, and I finished all my orders. That's one of the best feelings. Then there's a lot of small moments that are enjoyable, like when I make a new tile and it first comes out of the kiln. That's enjoyable. When I finish an order and I give it to a customer, they get it and they like it, I really enjoy that. At the end of an art fair, after I've finished an art fair and I've been out there all day long, standing in the sun, talking to hundreds of people and wrapping all their tiles up and it's all over with and it was a successful event. And that's a good feeling. The fact that I'm carrying on my family tradition, it's something that I understand that's really important. The fact that I'm carrying on the tradition that won't end. I can't imagine what else I would do if I didn't do this.
Over 75% of Sporck Tileart designs are custom requests. If you'd like to learn more, visit his website or stop into Leaf's 204 Gallery or Fishtown Gallery, both in Leelanau County. Well, there's a place in Bay City that feels like you've just stepped into the heart of Liverpool, England in the 1960s. As Stephanie Mills shows us, Beatlemania is alive and well at the Espresso Express Coffee House presents Beatles and Beans Coffee Emporium.
It's a time portal. You would never know by looking out the front of this place, but as soon as you walk through that door, pow, there you are.
Pow! That's really a perfect word to describe what happens when you enter Beatles and Beans Coffee Emporium along the Saginaw River, downtown Bay City. Virtually every square inch, top to bottom, covered in Fab Four memorabilia.
I've always been fascinated with their music and their stuff, and it changes in here all the time. It's going to be different every time somebody comes in here because I'm always moving things and changing things.
Brad and Peggy Wilderman are the brains behind this unique and one-of-a-kind coffee house. They first opened the business in 1993. After several years, they decided to bring in some more flavor to help transport their customers back to yesterday.
We both love the Beatles, and we know what an impact it has had on so many people's lives over the years. It's gone pretty darn well, too. I mean, people are really touched when they come in this place. They can't believe it. They love it.
Everywhere you look, George, John, Paul, and Ringo await to meet your stares. From posters, LP covers, pictures, dolls, this collection, which is a mix of vintage and homemade Beatles crafts, is just something you gotta see to believe.
Well, it's been a lot of years in work for sure. It's an everyday thing. I'm always trying to collect cool and unique things. You know, some days it happens to come across our way, and other days we have to search for it.
Living in a city known for having some of the best antique stores in the state has certainly helped Brad's collection come together.
It's the old vintage stuff that really draws people in. You know, there's so much homemade stuff in here that I've made personally or that other people have kind of folk art together, you know, that have made over the years. That's a real big draw too. There's over 5,000 45s on the ceiling, and there's some Beatles mixed in there, but it's a mixture of everything from the time they started printing those things till about 1985, 86, and there's just so much good music up there. It started out just a little bit of area for the stage, and then it kind of just grew.
Their guest book includes visitors from all over the world, young and old. And even after a hard day's night, Brad and Peggy say they just love to be able to share all this with their customers, along with providing good food, drinks, and fun company.
If you look at our guest register, there's people from all over the world in here. I mean, London, Paris, France, Germany, Scotland, Ireland. I mean, you know, not necessarily just to come here, but they made it here. A lot of people from England and Britain and go, oh my gosh, you know, there's nowhere in even Britain that has a place like this.
You don't have to be a Beatles fan to like this place, but odds are you'll end up singing one of their tunes by the time you leave.
All over the state, there's wonderful coffee experiences everywhere for sure. But can you find this anywhere? You can't.
Now, this might be hard to believe, but Brad tells us that he has even more Beatles memorabilia. He rotates it in every now and then to give a new look to the coffee house. Now it's Bob Garner's turn to grab a cup of coffee of his own and sit down to reminisce about the past with his favorite grade school teacher, John Lepin, in Midland.
I'm outside of Midland with one of my favorite people and an outstanding Michigander. John Lepin's career has taken him from one of Michigan's pleasant peninsulas to the other below the mighty Mac. I first met John back in the year President Kennedy was assassinated. 1963 was his first year of teaching. Originally from Ironwood, his migration to Clarkston became my lucky break as he became my teacher for 5th and 6th grade. We met on the first day of school. It was pretty apparent to those of us who were in that first class that you liked the kids.
Well, I did. The kids were the fun part of the whole thing. There was just no doubt about it.
Now, your education took you to Muskegon and then to Clare?
Lo and behold, I had been looking at the map of Michigan for many years, looking at Clare, saying, you know, if I ever get a chance to move to that town, that's where I want it to be. The elementary principalship opened up there, and I applied and was hired. Pretty amazing.
It wasn't long until you were called on to become superintendent, a position you served in until retirement. And if you remember, I was at your retirement party in 1998. Then you went on to Central Michigan University.
I did. I supervised student teachers for Central Michigan, which was a fabulous, fabulous position.
Exciting stuff, huh?
It was. It really was. And there were some really, really good teachers. There are some really good teachers out there.
At any point, ever really realize the impact you made on so many people?
No, I never thought. As a matter of fact, I always thought, well, there went another wasted year where I could have done better and I should have done better. As a teacher, you have to have at least one outstanding lesson a day. That's kind of what I had in the back of my mind.
I'll stay on your left, John, so I look taller.
Oh.
John, like any great teacher, you were not only teaching us a lesson a day, but you were learning a lesson a day throughout your life, including bits about your Finnish heritage. Let's take a look back at some of the pictures of the past.
Oh, here's an interesting one. I'm the one on the left, and my twin brothers. Ken Fenley, who was a band instructor.
Yeah?
It was his retirement, so I was speaking. It was from Newberry.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. No, Engadine, same thing.
Engadine. Remember Sonny Elliott?
Yeah.
Engadine.
Yeah, that made Engadine famous.
Lepin will head Clare schools. I knew this was going to happen. We'd sit here and reminisce to the point where, holy smokes, look at this. Superintendent John Lepin. Holy smokes, your hair was darker too. Mr. Lepin, it was such a pleasure to spend a morning with you. You're an outstanding educator, a good friend, and for me, a very important mentor.
Now we'll conclude our episode with some Destination Michigan trivia for you. A famous early 20th century American author grew up in mid-Michigan. Over half of his books were made into movies. James Oliver Curwood's writing studio still stands, overlooking the Shiawassee River in Owasso. So your trivia question for the night is, in what year was James Oliver Curwood's castle built? The answer is 1922. The castle is a favorite destination for Owasso locals and visitors alike. Tours of the 3 unique turrets and rest of the building are given by the Owasso Historical Commission. Details on those tours and other events held in the castle can be found on their Facebook page. Well, thanks for joining us tonight on Destination Michigan. We hope you'll tune in again and learn more about the state we all love to call home.